In this video, we're going to look at using significant figures in calculations where we're using addition and subtraction. Now, the rules for addition and subtraction are different than the rules for multiplication and division, so I have a separate video if you're multiplying and dividing. When we're adding and subtracting, to figure out how many significant figures our final answer should have, it's not about how many significant figures the numbers that we're adding and subtracting have, it's about how many decimal places we know. And so when we're adding and subtracting, the number that has the least number of decimal places, that's how many decimal places our final answer can have. All right, I think it might be more clear if we do some examples. So when I add and subtract and I'm worried about significant figures, I think it really helps to line up the numbers by their decimal points. Right, so if I was given these numbers and I was told to add them up and get the answer to the correct number of significant figures, I would write it out like this. And then I want the decimal point in the 0.823 to line up with the decimal point in the 5.74. So I'd write it as 0.823. And I'm sure that each one of the decimal places I line up with each of the numbers. And then I'd put in the 2.651. All right, so when we add those up, we end up with an answer right? But to determine the significant figures, whichever number I know to the least precision, right? So whichever number essentially stops first being significant, that determines where I have to stop reporting the significant figures in my answer, right? So these both go out to the thousandths place, but because this only goes out to the hundredths place, that's the last digit that I can report in my answer. So what I'll often do is kind of put in a dashed line here, like I go, okay, dot, 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 dot. That tells me where I have to cut things off, right? So I can't report that 4, so these are the only digits that are significant. So my final answer would be 9.21. All right, let's do another example. Okay, now we're doing subtraction, but the rules are the same as for addition. And they haven't written explicit decimal points, but we know that it would be here and here. So I'm going to line them up the same way that I did before. So I have 6,500 minus 280. And then when I do that, the answer I get is 6220. But now when I look and see, okay, where do the numbers end where I know their significance, right? And so the last significant digit that I know in this number is the 5, right? So that 0 is not significant, whereas this one stops here, right? But because this is the first one where it becomes not significant, right, that's going to be my dividing line. So I kind of put in my dashes, right? So then my final answer is going to be 6, 2, and then I can't just delete these, right? But I'm going to make them zeros. So that would be my final answer in that case. All right, one more example. Okay, when I'm dealing with numbers in scientific notation and I'm adding or subtracting them, it can be a little bit tricky because it wouldn't be correct to line up these numbers as they're written with the decimal places because, you know, this number is not 4.51, it's 0.000451. So what you want to do is either put everything in the same power of 10 or put everything in conventional notation. And I think that second way is the easiest thing to do here, right? So in conventional notation, this number is going to be 0.000451. And so now I can add them up and line up the decimal places like we've done before. Okay, and so now when I add these guys up, we get that result. But we can see, right, the number on the top stops first, right? So I've got to cut it off down here. So then my final answer is going to be 0.01278.